I'm not going to go in a lot of detail on this page, but just to say that this document will be on our Orange County Inland Empire website, so you can view it there. And I'm going to briefly overview Paycheck Protection Program and just show you here, and then move off to another document we're going to look at, which cover the similar programs. But Paycheck Protection, obviously that's the thing we're hearing most about at this point. And it's the first draw, second draw is available. Just started relock in January 11th, continued through March the 31st. Those that didn't receive draw first is what it's there for. You can still get your draw and pursue the second draw as well. Second draw is going to be, the requirement's going to be 300 employees or less, demonstrated 25% reduction in 2020, a quarter in 2020 versus a quarter in 2019. Any quarter or the whole year. Make sure you have that reduction. You can go for the second draw. The first draw doesn't require that. $1 million on the first draw, $2 million amount on the second draw. We increase basically the audience at this point, the applicable groups to include 501c6s, destination marketing organizations, housing co-ops is mentioned there, but it's also added. And fewer than those groups, 300 employees or fewer, and no more than 15% of their revenue on lobbying. Added newspapers, TV, and radio stations as well, with a threshold on employees as well. Use of proceeds was broadened, payroll and non-payroll expenses. We'll cover that in a couple minutes. And then ongoing and retroactively, of course, the simplified forgiveness is out there now, up to $150,000 where it was $50,000 previously. Big advantage to that. We'll look at that quickly. And then ongoing and retroactively, the EIDL advance will not reduce forgiveness. That's great news for everybody. I know we were certainly cheering for that. Borrow was application submitted by the approved to the approved lenders. So you're going to go through your lender as we had on the previous programs, and all those lenders that are approved are doing applications right now. So get started as soon as you can. We're going to digress. I'll just show you that this is here. We're going to cover it in another slide in terms of economic injury disaster loan program grants. For those that are in regular servicing, those that kept up with which in most cases they've done because they had help of the SBA. No more than $9,000 per month for any one of your loans, and it'll only be one of those loans. So we can't do both. 7A 504 microloan program, February, March, April, principal and interest paid for by the SBA. For those hardest hit industries such as this next code 72 and 71, which are the food service, accommodation, entertainment, what have you, there's others out there too. You can get as much as an additional 5 months extension depending on the availability of funds. And for those that is having taken a new loan from February, actually make sure this from February 1st, February 1st through September 30th, you will be also able to take your first six months being paid by the SBA, principal and interest. SBA, we talked about having funds available. Temporary modifications. One other thing I want to mention, because it's not on the other slide, is that we're bringing up to you to 90%. So it's like from 75, 80%. We're guaranteeing to cover the bank with our guarantee, which helps open the credit box a little bit more for the lenders. Takes more of that money off their balance sheets because they do sell most of these loans, frees up their capital to do more loans. Express loan is another portion of another program under 7A programs, faster application, hopefully less documentation. That's been raised up to $1 million. You can get approved up $1 million in that program, and the guarantees on that have also risen as well from 50% to 75%. Importantly, waivers of waiving lender borrow fees for 504 programs retroactive to December 27th through for your lender and 55 basis points or so for the lender. It's a good, pretty sweet. So it said, oops. This is a document we got from headquarters, and it's comprehensive, so we'd like you to go through the rest of the program here. This is just outlining what we just discussed, overviewing again, what is a loan program? Well, Paycheck Protection is a loan program, but it can be turned into a grant, as we know. The SBA Relief Loan Program, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. Well, part of that's a loan program, and the targeted advance is a grant, and the shuttered venue operators is a grant. Top takeaways from the PPP will be your ability to choose 8 to 24 weeks on these first and second draw loans. You know, no longer have to be put in one category. Manage that as you need. You know, again, we'll be, we've got some, we can talk about some more things about the deductibility of expenses in a minute. Offers second draw PPP loan option for the hardest hit businesses. And the forgiveness to 6% loans that have been submitted in 2020. The other part is we no longer to subtract the EIDL advance, as we mentioned, from the PPP loan this amount. First draw, I think everything here we've pretty much covered. See anything too new there? You business must have been in business February 15, 2020, and you must have sustained an injury, economic injury to the COVID-19 crisis. We increased the eligibility, as I mentioned, for those organizations up above, newly eligible and still eligible, the same entities before, a broad swath of those entities. Again, 500 is going to be the limit. In some cases, in terms of employee, 300 for the second draw. Keep a watch on the specific eligibility requirements. Second draw is going to be that hurdle, like I said, that 25% reduction in gross receipts. We'll show you a little bit how to measure that. Importantly as well, the next code that we had a lot of restaurants, as you can imagine, in the accommodations industry suffering greatly. So they've got a bump up on their multiplier from the 2.5 times the average payroll to 3.5. That's getting up to $2 million. The additional credibility, let's see. So again, on the second draw, it would be 300 employees or less. And you got to demonstrate that 25% reduction. And importantly, you have had to have used your first draw funds before you receive the disbursement for your second draw. We don't want the money being spent in the second, for expenses in the first covered period into the second covered period. And this is the process. Find your PPP lender, we got a list we can show you that will take applications even though you're not don't have a relationship with them. You can go to I'll show you the link. You can hit lender match, or go to a map that's going to some other, go to your lender. Your current lender is well probably doing SBA loans. Just for a point, you can do a first and second, obviously, application or first and second draw. They don't have to be with the same lender, but if you have any potential issue that you see with an EIN number change, sometimes change on your business or name of your business, anything like that, probably wise to stay with the same lender for ease of any kind of clearing. We might get holds in that regard, a hold on the application until we clarify the ownership. Complete the application. SBA issues the loan number. Keep a word on this, that we are certainly aware that submissions that have come from the lenders into the SBA world have found their way into a hold category. And that's because there are several issues that when we screen the loans, the first draw loans, with some new measures to try to avoid fraud, duplication, loan duplication, etc. We found some issues. So those have to be cleared, and your lenders are working at that to make sure they can either do it themselves or they submit to SBA, excuse me, in some cases where we have to clear it as well. So I think that covers that. And other thing is the PPP is not 100% forgiven. As you know, you will end up with a loan of 1% interest up to 5 years in term. And I think that's payments will start, if you get your forgiveness back and you owe $5,000, your payments will start the month after. Before your payments will start, you have 10 months to get that application in, 10 months from the last day of your covered period. So get that app in up till then, and you're not going to have any payments start. Even if the payments start, you can still submit your forgiveness application up to the maturity date of your loan. And there's no fees or prepayment penalties to pay off that PPP loan. Now, some of the updates on the Economic Act included, I mentioned the key one is economic, the one that we were most applauding was the EIDL advances that no longer be deducted from the PPP loan forgiveness payment. Now, the other ones relate to the deductibility of these expenses or how they're going to be treated from a tax standpoint. So if Lisa has joined the call, Lisa Hamilton, our stakeholder with the IRS, if you could join us and give us some insight there. Lisa?
Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me okay. I want to cover a couple things. So one of the things that you already know is that there is no taxability on the on your PPP loan. It's not included in income. If there was an issue and you received a 1099 from your lender, Treasury directed the lenders to send you a 1099-C and then correct that. I will want to direct you to IRS.gov, where you'll be able to view your information on how to get information on yourself. IRS digital notices are also included inside of your account. Any that have been reported to you also be included inside your transcript information. So, yes, impact payments are rolling out. I want to make sure that if you are an eligible individual that is entitled to an economic impact payment, that you get that payment. If you did not get that payment and you received a 1444B, we want to make sure that you use your tax return to recover. So what you are going to do is on your 1040, there's a line specific for refundable credit. So even if people did not have a filing requirement, they can still recover that economic impact payment if they are so entitled to that. We want to make sure that you file early so that way there is no refund delays, especially during the COVID. We had some slowdown on the paper, but now we're getting back up. So we want to make sure that you file early, make sure you file electronically because the error rate is lower on electronically filed tax returns. A lot of people are eligible to use free file system that is, you're going to have and income limits, as you see on the screen. And free file it's very slick. It helps you to file, and if you have questions, and use a tax practitioner if you have a complex tax return. But we want you to know that IRS free. Again, if you have children and you may be eligible for earned tax credit to get that earned income tax credit. And because we know there's going to be a lot of people that will qualify for that credit. And you know that is a refundable credit. So it's not offset by taxes, but it's increased by the income that you earned in the tax year. One more reminder is that some of you may have received employment benefits, and we want you to know that those benefits are includable in your taxable income. We want to make sure that you watch your mail for 90 that have been issued by the state of California. If you know that you did receive unemployment benefits, check your account and make sure that what they deposited into your account, you're reporting on your tax return, because we don't want you, if you have a refund coming, we don't want it to slow it down because we have to stop the processing of that return because something is not reported. And that's all I have.
And Lisa, could you answer this question up front? Is
Sure.
If I'm getting relief from the SBA for those payments that we're making on relief, or if we're forgiving the PPP loan, is that going to be a tax impact, a 1099 for the tax or for the employer?
Yes, it is not. It is not includable in your taxable income.
Good. What about in the expenses themselves? Can they still be deducted even though they're paid for government funds?
Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't cover that part. And yes, now with the new Treasury relief, you are able to deduct the expenses on your tax return that you incurred this year, even if you use the loan proceeds to pay for those. Yes, those are still deductible to you. I'm sorry, I should have covered that first.
That's okay. Excellent. Great news.
Okay.
Thanks very much. I'll jump around for some questions.
My pleasure.
Okay. Now I'll turn it over to John's and colleague who is adept at economic injury disaster loan. The process he's actually processed for for the Office of Disaster Assistance. So he's a great person to go through these few programs with you. So Adam.
Yeah, thanks, Ron, and good afternoon, everybody. So we got a lot to cover today, so I may talk kind of fast, but definitely ask questions if you have them. Put them in the Q&A box. We'll get to them there. So to start, the COVID-19 Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, the EIDL program that everybody's been talking about, has been extended until December 31st or until funds run out. Has been extended a full year. It was originally set to expire at the end of last December, but through the Economic Aid Act, it has been extended. It is a little bit different program from PPP. It does not have a forgiveness feature. This is a loan that has to be repaid. However, it has very favorable terms for most businesses, for-profit businesses. It has an annual interest rate of 3.75%. Payments are deferred for the first 12 months, anticipating that hopefully your business will be in a little bit better place and you'll be able to make the payments when they come due. And the loan term is 30 years, so very affordable monthly when they do come due. If you haven't applied already, we strongly suggest you look into this program. You can apply online through the SBA.gov website, but this program does not have a second round. Another difference between this and PPP, there is not a second round of it. So if you've already applied for it, that's it. There's one application, one loan per business for this. So if you've already applied, don't apply again. If your original application was declined or if you didn't pursue it and it became inactive, you need to request reconsideration for that original application. Do not submit a new application. Ron, if you can move forward. A second part of the EIDL program has been the advance. So the original advance last year ran out of money. The funding for the original EIDL advance program ran out in July. The new targeted EIDL advance that was made possible through the Economic Aid Act is not open to the public for application. There's no application process right now that's open where you can go online and do it. However, if you applied for the COVID-19 EIDL program prior to December 27th of 2020, the Loan Center will reach out to you by email. They will send you an email invitation to the application process. The targeted EIDL advance has some restrictions on who's eligible for it. This one being that your business has to be in a low income community. Not yet have a map showing those low-income communities. We expect a map or a tool to be released shortly where you could look up to see if your business is in a low-income community, but that's rule number one. The second part is that you have to have at least a 30% revenue in a week period sometime after March, I believe it's March 30th, 2020, but I slightly off on
March 2nd.
20. Thank you, Ron. So that's the criteria. Business has to have 300. The other thing, this targeted advance is to get everybody to the $10,000 advance amount that people expect from the first round last year. So if you received $1,000, only $1,000 this time around $10,000. If you did any last year advance, maybe up after the funds ran out, or you applied before the funds ran out, but they ran out before they might be eligible for the full $10,000 then, assuming you meet these other criteria. Again, the application process, the SBA is going to email you a link to the application if you applied prior to December 27th. They started sending those emails last week, so hopefully they'll move quickly and you'll see something soon. Pay attention to your emails. You will need to have things like your federal tax return. You'll have to provide your monthly revenue amounts for 2019 and 2020 so that they can do comparisons. You'll be asked to confirm all of your application information from when you first applied. Important thing here is making sure that your account is correct. And you really got to make sure everything is right. Once you submit application, you submit a title advance assignment. We consider it when you get the info for certain and things taken care of. You'll be asked Form 46T, lets the loan go directly to IRS to get transcripts. So that's the target. Let's slide if I missed anything. SBA's goal will be to complete the application review and process within 21 days. So it is expected to be fairly quick. If you do have application questions, they do have an email address, targetedadvance@sba.gov. But the main thing is making sure that action when you fill out the application and assuming your business is in a low income community. All right, next we have venue operators grant. This one is going to have a very narrow audience for who can apply for this. This is really aimed at live venue operators and promoters, movie theaters, zoos, museums, aquariums, talent representatives, theatrical producers like that. This is Save Ages campaign. So very limited amount of businesses that will be able to apply for it, but a new program, but we expect it to be very popular and very good. Unlike PPP, this is a grant. It doesn't have to be paid back. There's no forgiveness request necessary. It's just once you get the money, you use it within the parameters of the program. You don't have to pay it back. However, there are some major things to note with this one, particularly that on the screen now, you'll see a matrix of the different COVID-19 resource programs. Shuttered Venue Operators Grant. If you took PPP in 2020, if you received your PPP last year before December 27, 2020, you can apply. Taking a PPP, you are not allowed to take the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant. You really need to make the determination which program is for the PPP loan. And only apply for one. Now, with that said, the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant application process is not open yet. We don't have a time frame for when it's going to launch. We hope it's soon. We really don't know. So there are some considerations to take in. PPP is open right now. You might get the money a little bit faster. But there are also different calculations and uses of the funds. So PPP obviously is primarily for payroll. Your loan amount is going to be based on your monthly average payroll. The Shuttered Venue Operators Grant, the amount is for most people or most businesses, if you were in business for all of 25% of your revenue. So it can be a significantly different amount from what your PPP loan might be. So to keep in mind, you get the money in more ways. You have flexibility to pay back, make refunds on past ticket purchases. Things wouldn't necessarily be for. You need to look at programs. If you're a venue operator, if you're a promoter, look at the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant information. There's information online on the SBA. There's an FAQ available online. Review that information. Determine if you'd be for the grant. And if you are, then program would be the Shuttered Operators Grant. The Shuttered does not qualify you from EIDL. You can still apply for that and the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant. You can take both of those. That's not a problem. It's only this new round of PPP with the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant. I'm sure you're aware of it. Now, last thing on Shuttered is just in preparing for the program, if you are eligible and you want to apply that one, you'll need to get Don's number from the Ford Management, which is sam.gov, the website. Those things will be required for this program, and they can do so if you're interested in this program and you're eligible for it. You'll also want to gather any documents that support your number of employees, your revenue. If you're an entertainment venue, we recommend your plan available, equipment is, where you is. Definitely get documentation ready, you can apply as possible what the program is. And I think with that, that covers EIDL, the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant. And do you want to go over the debt relief?
Yeah, I'll just go through this quickly. We're going to try to make some time to look at something on a couple things on forgiveness. So as I mentioned about this program, 7A 504 microloans, getting that relief in terms of payments being made. There'll be a letter that actually you will receive if you are in that, again, you're in the regular servicing, you have a 7A 504 loan, a micro loan, and you'll get a letter indicating what months of coverage you'll have in terms of principal and interest. So hopefully you're getting that. If you got some questions, you can contact our office or your lender. I'm not going to go over this again. We pretty much know that. And Adam, I'll let you just kind of overview these next two charts.
Sure. So this one is some of our local resources here in the Orange County and Inland Empire area. These are the SBA's resource partners who receive funding from the SBA so that they can provide free or very low cost training shops, consulting, things like that. We definitely encourage small business owners to take advantage of these resources. They offer a lot of great programs and training. Even today, SCORE is on the call, hosting the call today, and Irma from SCORE will talk a little bit later about what SCORE can provide to you. We separately have the Small Business Development Centers and the Women's Business Centers, all who provide different webinars, workshops, trainings, but each of them can also assist with your loan application. All of these programs, they can provide different information, guidance, and application assistance. And then here on this slide, we have some different ways that you can stay connected with the SBA to get ongoing information SBA.gov/updates is one that will sign you up for our electronic newsletter or email newsletter. And to that, you can put in your zip code to make sure you get local newsletters from us directly. You also have our phone number on the screen there, 714-550-7420. Follow us on Twitter. If you're on Twitter, you can follow either our headquarters at sba.gov or our local office at sba_OCIE. But these are just some ways that you can get updated information forward on all of these programs and to get the information as soon as it's released.
Thanks, Adam. Moving quickly through, again, this document is available. Maybe I didn't, but this account comparison first draw. Some quickly, the terms and the qualifications, eligible uses. And on this, I'll just touch on this. Eligible uses I mentioned was expanded. So as previously, when we worked with the CARE Act, we had a limited number of utilities, and we had rent, and we had mortgage interest. It's been expanded, the expenses in terms of non-payroll expenses to more operating expenses. There's things in there for supplier costs. There's coverage for supplier costs, worker protection expenditures. So I implore you to look at the IFR. I'll show you where that is. It gives you a pretty good laundry list of what those items are. If you got a question, I'll try to answer it. The other expansion in terms of payroll costs includes now life, dental, vision, disability insurance, in addition to retirement contributions and healthcare made by the employer on behalf of the employee. This is what you pleasure. You talked about the lenders, and again, you have your choice. Use your lender if you felt he did well for you in a first draw. Use him for the second draw, or him or her. And if otherwise you want to choose another lender, these lenders will take your application without a pre-existing relationship. And then also the fin companies will do likewise. But I can tell you from a customer service standpoint, there'll be some issues. You've got no things, again, difference changes in your first in terms of your business structure. That may be fine, but you have your choice in place. You can more choices in the website. Okay, I'm going to get on the website, show you more specifics. So I mentioned before, sba.gov, that's the home site. Everything should be there that we're going to talk about today. I'll share programs, hover under that, go to Corona Relief Options. Okay. Must be a lot of people looking at Corona Relief Options. Anyway, here's we're going to be able to where we talk program injury, disaster, the shuttered venues, operators grant, shuttered venue operators grant, etc. Due to limited time, we're going to go to Paycheck Protection. And at the page, it's going to give you a chance to get matched with their match, maybe help you find that lender. Lenders in your area, click on there and see if you can look at the map and see where additional lenders might be for the PPP. A brief overview of first draw and second draw. We've basically covered those summaries. Then you're going to be seeing first draw, second draw, PPP data. Under information, there's going to be information you'd want to see, even though it says lender. Those two IFRs, both for the first draw and second draw. So if you click on this, I'm trying to have to go pretty quickly here, but as you can see, populates. You go down the page, 2001 news ones for the first draw. Here's the second draw here up on the forgiveness requirements. And then you can look historically at other. Loanness, we're going to go to that in a minute. They want to learn more about what data, where the applications, where the loans have been funded in terms of state. And there's a weekly update on that report. First draw, let's go to first draw PPP loans. And there's I think there's $25 billion out there for first draw. And recognize the top some goes down and applying for first draw. Here's the application form. Is frequently asked questions. I know we're going to have a Q&A, but this will maybe answer a lot more questions, maybe questions you didn't think of. And how to calculate, very important. I click on that onto this document. Basically, you here, question 1 being self-employed, no employees. Question 2, self-employed with employees. And down showing the step 1 your average monthly or your loan amount. In this case, we're using pay cost for self-dependent contract, usually using your line 31. It's a full year. So it should help you. You sorry, you're going to come to this space for the first click employer and do the process. Right. You don't want to go through that process. Avoid it. Get the information amount of payroll or your one multiply divide by the number here, which equals here. You can't apply. Or any of your owners have defaulted in the last 7 years on federal debt, you would not apply, etc. And there's always a certification section. So it takes on. Do you agree? There's a lot of same if you get a form. You should questions help every click. To this doc, deduction relations, we define gross receipts, and then going through Q&A how to make that comparison. If you're not in business in a certain quarter, and how do you make that comparison? Again, I think it's very helpful. If you got any questions, you can ask, and you can send whether email or you can ask them on the way. But this is a great tool. I find it pretty easy to understand. So this doc would be the how to calculate. So very similar method. That's it. Here's application second draw. What's different? Quarter versus, or I'm sorry, 2020 is 2019. Any quarter or any year, you can make that comparison. You don't have to put this in for your $150,000 or less, but you will have to provide it at the time of the forgiveness application. So it's definitely document that the fact we're able to by doing this comparison. And again, submit on the forgiveness. Make sure you don't need information here. Same kind of basic eligibilities. Education, more about in there, your page, which is 4, and it's going to give you good instructions. You have some of the documents we've provided on the website, but it's giving you the terminology covered in the how to calculate form. And then, of course, there's the demographic information on the last page. Please fill that out for us. It helps us better manage the program. I'm going to click place, and then there's a website. Just show you that in that type in to Google search ADA Santa Ana, click the website. You'll come off three. You'll see us here. Email, call, whatever you need to do, and then idle sources from our office, and you'll see the information under economic aid, PPP relaunch here of everything we've kind of talked about today. So take a gander. I hope it helps, and particularly when it comes to those lenders. If you need help with that, that should be in here somewhere. Why am I not finding it? Oh, here it is. Lender list. And here you get to lender list, and that'll be updated periodically. Now, I know I'm a little over, but I want to touch on a couple things. So here's the easy form application for the forgiveness, and here, here's the S one. So let me go back. Where did I put that? Let's see. Okay, sorry, I'm clicking around a little bit, trying to find where everything. So as you remember, we've done this before, gone through forgiveness basics, and it's covered on some of the application forms, covered in the IFR. But just again, you always want to go back to Paycheck Protection Program, go under the Paycheck Forgiveness I showed. Only just the S form expand, increase now to 150,000 or less. So you can use that form, and you have to also have the stipulation that your entity is affiliated together to receive $2 million or more. Otherwise, you couldn't use the form. But with that, you can use a form simpler. You'll see what I mean. Exempt from forgiveness with regard to exempting the FTE requirement and the wage reduction requirement that we've had on. You'll see when the easy form, we look at that quickly. 60% of your PPP loan must be spent. No matter what form you do, they're going to ask you that you spend 60% of your PPP loan amount on payroll. And the form is the 3508S. Otherwise you don't qualify for that, you're going to have some other qualifications on the easy form that essentially be what I'm showing you here. And that is that your staff levels between January 1st, 2020 and the end of the covered period were not reduced unless there's stated exceptions. And otherwise as well, you're not more than 25% reduction during the covered period, term wage reduction, the most quarter before the covered period. Again, we'll have to post this on the website because I know I don't have a lot of time to deal with this right now, address it, but there's the safe harbor that continues to be if one employee left the company and you couldn't replace that person, that's certainly keep that information at hand. Documentation is that he left, he quit and went elsewhere. He was fired for cause or when asked for a reduction in hours. Those will all add to your ability to meet that FTE goal. And importantly, that safe harbor is still in place, whereas if you are unable to bring your staff back up to, the levels of pre-COVID February 15th, because of, certain guidance that was issued, and anytime during that covered period, you weren't able to do that, you basically waive that FTE requirement for filling out the easy form. So again, if you can't use the simple form, you're either going to use the easy form or you're going to use the long form. And you know the process, I think, but lender submits the application, borrower submits the application to the lender. You have 10 months after the end of the covered period. Otherwise, payments are going to start to be required. 60 days, lender has a chance to review it. 90 days SBA. I don't think it's taken quite that long, particularly for SBA. But some lender sites weren't open right away because we did change forms. So I think they're saying by mid-February, those forms are going to be updated on, I believe it was Wells Fargo. I believe it was Union Bank. And I'm not going to get into all this right now, but I'm going to take you to the form itself. If I can, let's see. So here is 35S. Just, you see how simple it is. Get this information at the top of the page, like we said before. Put in your SBA PPP loan number, your letter loaner, the amount of your loan, the date of disbursement that basically you received the funds, number of employee forgiveness application. For covered period, in this case it was an 8-week covered period. The amount of money you spent on the payroll costs, and then the amount of loans spent on payroll costs, and then the requested forgiveness amount. So, this could be obviously less because it's not all necessarily cost. And you then will want to keep all your documentation. And, don't forget to read this form, what the eligible uses are, some good information on this form. And then quickly take a gander at the easy form. Yeah, now I'm going to go to what you identify when you're doing this application. And it basically is going to ask you the question that you want to always see form apply for using this if your amount is more than $100. And you can check one of the two boxes below. So you have to be 150,000 or more than 150,000 and check one of the two boxes. This is a form. You can submit them simultaneously, but you can't second from this where you do first forgiveness application. Again, go through this, make sure you're comfortable with the question maybe tomorrow or now, but you got about the FTE meeting the of just in salary. Again, to ensure that there's an exception there to with those making 100,000. But and then if you can check, fill out the form, long, somewhat difficult form with regard to standard 508. So with that, I thank you for your, rushing through quite a bit, but I think we have time to certainly have SCORE, discuss their and have a chance for Q&A. Irma?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Once again, I'm Irma, and I'm from the Empire SCORE. And we are a proud partner with the SBA since 1964. Our primary focus is to offer mentoring from our seasoned professional mentors. We also offer no-cost or low-cost workshops conducted by experienced presenters and other valuable resources that are on our website. I'm going to now share my screen of our homepage. Just a second. Well, let's start with the Coachella webpage, since this came up first. Our Coachella Valley website has information to help you schedule an appointment with one of our mentors and our workshop information. And this is the main homepage for SCORE. This gives you the PPP updates as was discussed today in this call. This gives me another information. I'm just briefly covering all of the sites. Let's go over. Sorry, our website. On this web, you'll find tour on shops. You can actually schedule for the low-cost training or cost training. It's the same as the tour. This one has resilient sources. let's go to Orange County, I'm sorry, the San Diego. It goes pretty much same as all shop, web pages rather, and get free business mentoring, workshops. Backup County also has a web page where you're speaking clients history. There's a difference we have. Mentoring is free, and so you can get us. The web is email, phone call. You're welcome to copy those links, ask questions to do so. I thank SBA today for me this opportunity to present information about SOAR.
Irma, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, now we're going to get into the Q&A session. First, I'd like to comment our SBA team has answered over 65 questions in the chat box, which is pretty amazing. Now we have selected questions that we think will have value for everyone.
Business account, do we need to set up a personal one also?
This account cover everything.
All righty, I have a question. I submitted my forgiveness tax.
Well, the lender has 50 days to review it, submit it to SBA, and SBA can have as many days. If you didn't get seeded back from Cabbage, and keep in mind, Cabbage is kind of a strange animal in that sense that they really don't, and they have a finance company. Most of their stuff is going to be sent out to a servicer or another institution. So if you want to send me an email, I'll try to find out who that is, and maybe you can have a more direct contact with the servicing company to make sure that that application was received.
Okay, next question, please.
Question I kicked off. No, go ahead. I don't have a question.
Okay, I have one.
To answer two parts of the same program. If you applied for the EIDL, there will be an email to notify you about that application process and eligibility requirements. So keep an eye on your emails.
Okay, another question. This person is asking, can I use 100% of the PPP loan on payroll and be forgivable?
You can. I think the key thing there is you can't basically pay an employee more than the pro rata amount, because again, everyone is limited to maximum 100,000, and the prorated at 850 seconds if it's 8 weeks. And hopefully you read the rules are clear. You need more information. Again, look at that. Specifics on the back of the forgiveness application. Get more to that as the coming weeks, but you can't overpay, but you could certainly pay the 100%.
Okay. I have another one from Rich. He's asking, is the EIDL advance taxable?
If Lisa,
I'm sorry. I haven't seen a reversal on portion being non-taxable. If I get that information, I will share it with you as soon as it comes through. But that was one thing that wasn't covered in the last relief package.
Yeah, good question. We'll definitely dig into that.
Ron, I apologize. I was actually kicked off as well, and I just got back on. I would like to ask a couple more questions, if that's possible. Adam, and he addressed this to Adam. It has to do with the payback for the $1,000. How are they going to be, in other words, for the grant? How are companies going to be reimbursed for the money that was deducted?
So there's two possible things going on with that. If it was deducted from your forgiveness for PPP, then the SBA will reimburse the lender and you'll be reimbursed. Now, separately, somebody was asking earlier about paid back the EIDL advance because the original thought was that it would be deducted from your PPP forgiveness. We have not received any guidance or instructions on that situation. We don't have any information saying that you will be reimbursed for that advance amount. We may or may not get guidance on that. It's a very unusual circumstance and doesn't affect very many people, but we don't have any information on that right now.
Very good. I have another question here. If I spend 100% of my PPP on payroll, is it total forgivable?
Yes. Again, the key thing is going to be there is how did you spend that money? There's a limit on owner compensation. There's a limit on employee compensation based on their, stated average salary, let's say the salary, and then pro rata depending on the number of weeks. Again, pro rata, if it's 8 weeks, it's 850 seconds of say if they made 100,000, it's 850 seconds. It's going to be, I think it's $20,000 is the max, 20,000. So understand pro rata patients, so you can on payroll.
Very good. Are there any other questions, Adam?
Yes. So Benjamin asking when the first round of idle ends, and sorry, he said the box idle grant we needed. Somewhere, somehow, my checked yes box became unchecked, and I was told, no, you won't get the grant. In this new round of grants, how do I request a 10K grant?
So the new round of grants, the targeted idle advance, again, it's only for small businesses and low-income communities. If you applied for the program, for the idle program prior to December 27th of 2020, the Loan Center will send out an email to you with eligibility information and a link to the application portal. That will be the only way to apply for the targeted idle advance, through the email link.
Okay, and then we have 3 more questions, just real quick. How will we activate? Oh, sorry, Lisa, go ahead.
I'm sorry, real quick. So I want to back up what I just said. So now I'm reading that the idle grant portion is non-taxable either. And I just wanted to clear that up. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa. So yeah, 3 more questions. Alvin is asking, how will we access the low income area map when it's ready?
I think we're all curious to know that. I would assume a link will be put on the s.gov site, but we'll have to see what the Loan Center comes up with.
And then Tammy's asking, I am in a community with small business owners who have received approval. I applied around the same time they did. As a small business owner during this time, it is very frustrating, and the fact that we did not have new processing guidelines for the second draw. Not really sure what the question is.
So it sounds like, I think you're a borrower, not a lender. Lenders and borrowers are working together. Now there could be, again, there were issues, there continue to be issues with the first draw loan that may have had a hold on that. There's a lot of reasons for those holds, and it's our best information from public information. Doesn't mean there's an issue, but it means there need to be clarified. It could be an EIN, for instance, if you applied as an SSN for your first draw, and now you basically want to formalize your business, you got an EIN number, you're putting that in the application, that's going to generate a hold. That's going to generate a requirement for the lender to come back to you and ask for that documentation, and then in that particular case, he can certify that himself, that the lender can, I should say, and they therefore, it doesn't have to go to SBA. There's other hold codes or other, I guess basically, I forget exactly what the terminology we're calling those other, but there's holds that will come out, compliance check errors that will come up, and they will have to be resolved by the lender working with you, and then providing that documentation to the SBA. So again, lenders are going to have the new process in place starting tomorrow, where they can certify some of these holds themselves, and that ought to smooth the process, hopefully. If you want to send me your email, I would send an email, take and see what hold up might be. I cannot see the application files, just so you know. All I can see is that first draw loan or any approved loans that you might have. The application system, pretty much, you have to work through your lender.
Okay,
Very good.
last question.
Okay.
Adam, perhaps you could answer this. Where can I find a list of all uses of idle funds?
Probably recommend going to the option link. You can go to the IDLE webpage, and it should just basically go into being able to use it for working capital and like you can't that you might be paying because of COVID-19.
So that one about SBA.gov, or I'm sorry, our Orange County Empire website to get the same sources. Down is for expenditures along that into this, you can just control find, and if you want to find uses, see if I can find it with simply uses, and you can see that. Let me see if it's going to work. Eligible, ineligible. So it's see if I can find use of proceeds, generally allocate capital, accounts payable, and it tells you pretty much the list of what you can't use it for. So physical damages, etc. So anyway, SOP there for your perusal, and hopefully it will guide you to the correct answer.
Very good, ladies and gentlemen. I think we're out of time today. First, I thank everybody that's on the call today for taking time. It's a pleasure service. I'd love to thank our team, Ron, Adam, and Lisa from IRS, and our SBA team has been answering the questions. It's been a great call. Now, I want to point out that we have in week the balance of the month, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays at 2 o'clock. Rena was kind enough to put a lot of information in the chat box, including access to the box account, the lender list earlier, and you want to register so you can be notified of upcoming programs. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you all and good afternoon.